heart of Sydney's iconic startup district, Surrey Hills, two teenage founders turned Rejection into one of Australia's fastest growing startups, Instant.
This is Liam Millward. At 15 years old, he was running a travel magazine out of a caravan with his family. 50,000 readers, cutting deals with 190 tourism brands and a taste of what building looked like.
Then, at 17 years old, he began building Instant, a now $100 million e-commerce retention startup, alongside co-founder William Gao. A then 19-year-old software engineer from WiseTech, and the only person who responded to Liam's 100-plus cold LinkedIn DMs.
What began as Liam's university assignment turned into $2.2 million in funding before a single dollar of revenue, and now powers millions in online sales every month for 500 brands.
Their pitch is deceptively simple: make online shopping feel like magic and make brands money instantly.
Nobody cares how old you are if you build a product that solves real problems.
But behind that simplicity is some of the most sophisticated AI-driven marketing infrastructure on the internet. A product suite that knows when a shopper is about to bounce and what to say to win them back. Lots of big names passed on them.
We never really got caught up in, all the bullshit of startups. Customers in the door, hire great people, get rid of the shit ones, and just keep moving.
Others doubted two teenage founders going up against well-funded giants like Fast and Bolt. But the rejection didn't break them, it sharpened them.
We're not fast, we're instant, Liam told one skeptical investor. 1 week later, their company ended up leading Instant's pre-seed round. Yep, it was Blackbird. Founding partner Nikki Shivak put it bluntly.
It's almost like an ASX publicly listed CEO in a 17-year-old's body.
This is the story of two teenage founders who built a $100 million startup, how they overcame rejection, how they now manage a 60-person company, expanding to New York, and what it will take to reach their billion-dollar vision.
We're on our way to meet Liam Millward, the 21-year-old founder of a $100 million company here in Surrey Hills. And the last time we saw him was actually at a Bondi house party.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this because honestly, I think Liam has paved the way for so many founders. I think when you were a young kid at university, you went into consulting, banking, law, and now it feels like it's accessible to just go out and be a founder or join an early stage company. And we're starting to see this proliferation of young founders because they actually have people like Liam to look up to now.
Yeah, I wouldn't lie if there wasn't a little bit of insecurity tingling in my belly because at 17, at 21, we were doing nothing like what Liam's doing.
Yeah, but I think we've got so many friends now, people like Max, people in Next Chapter that are actually taking that stride to be a founder young. And I think it's people like Liam that set the pathway for that.
It's going to be weird. We're going to have to act pretty formal because we've done shots with him at parties before and stuff.
Do we have to act formal?
Maybe. Let's find out. Let's see.
Liam, tell us about your childhood and your early entrepreneurial journey.
We went traveling around the world for 4 years full time, mostly around Australia. Me, my mum, dad, sister, and our dog. And then that's when I started my first business. I was probably 15, 16, and I started a travel magazine called Navigate Australia. So I would share our travels on social media, work with tourism destinations to then promote those regions. It grew to 50,000 readers in 12 months. We partnered with 190 councils and tourism brands. And this was my first taste at some type of successful business. Each issue was making 20, 30 grand. Went from being a bit more than pocket money to, something that was exciting. Then I went to uni and studied business and marketing. And that's when I got into the world of business where we are today.
How did Instant begin and how old were you when it first started?
So I first started Instant out of a university assignment. Our lecturer, she made us start an online Shopify store, drop shipping shitty products from China, advertise them on Facebook ads and see if we could use our newfound marketing skills to generate some revenue via Meta. I chose to do pet beds, pet products, etc. And in COVID, everyone was buying dogs and cats, right? All these people were coming to my website and not completing their purchase at the point that they needed to put in their personal information. And so I thought, well, why don't we create a way that remembers the shopper every single time they come back, no matter what Shopify or website they go to, giving them an accelerated checkout. Well, that's how I came up with the initial idea for the business.
As a young guy, I'm sure you didn't know too many other technical sort of whizzes, and you had a few sort of struggles with finding that first CTO. What's the story there with finding Will?
I wasn't technical at all. I just spent days and days and days trying to find a co-founder, someone that was technical. I sent hundreds of messages on LinkedIn. It's actually funny, some of the people that I sent these messages to are on the team today as software engineers. But Will, my co-founder now, is the only person to get back to me.
He reached out to me. Yes, it was very cold, and it was like, well, this is definitely something new and very interesting, but he came prepared. He has this ability to shape vision into reality. At that time, had a very well-defined vision of what problem we want to solve, and like, as I said before, like the customers that we could solve that problem for. I was working as a software engineer at a company named WiseTech. Before that, I've just loved building things since very, very young. So it was really just the opportunity to solve problems that I have seen before. Really just the idea of building really, really cool shit.
Will's always been a hustler. I mean, I spoke to a couple of other people, and they and other founders, and they're like, it's the most important decision that you'll make, and you just need someone who doesn't necessarily have all the skills from day one, but is going to actually figure it out. And I think that we've always trusted each other to almost run, both halves of the business. Will is completely engineering, product obsessed, and I am very obsessed on the revenue growth side of the business. And I think we overlap a lot when it comes to product. I just think Will's just a good human, and he just works very, very hard.
What were your first impressions of Will and Liam?
Oh my God, like you dream of meeting people like Liam and Will, and the energy and the speed and the optimism and the passion. And so to have, it's almost like, an ASX publicly listed CEO in a 17-year-old's body.
So what was that initial vision of what you thought you're going to be building out?
Initially, we founded on instant checkout. The problem that product was solving cart abandonment issues for online retailers.
We were a one-click checkout. So basically remembering a shopper every single time they came back to your website or any website they visited on the internet.
So many people invest so much in top of funnel traffic and in paid ads. Merchants pay for all of that. Customers land on a website and don't convert. So that's an incredible amount of money you're spending to essentially generate no revenue.
So instead of adding the item to the cart, going to the cart, filling out, all their details, they could do that in one click. And, I think the core piece of technology that we built, which still powers the business today.
Getting funded is brutally hard, and we've been through it ourselves before, and we'll tell that story another time. But at 17, Liam Millward went out to get funding with no playbook, no investor network, and just a dream.
And as you'll see, every no that was said to Liam just made him double down even more. And what followed was one of the most prominent stories in fundraising in Australian startup history. In your story, there's a lot of lore about your early days, and one of those stories is you got rejected by Startmate, but then you ended up getting funding from Blackbird. Can you tell us a little bit about those early fundraising experiences and what that meant for you?
I mean, it was extremely hard. We had no idea what venture capital was at all. I was 17. Will was, I think, 21 or 20. The only thing we really wanted to do was be able to hire our first software engineer. And we ended up, meeting this Singaporean angel investor who then introduced us to the next person. So that took us quite a while. We closed about 250K in angel capital. Then we hired our first software engineer, Patrick, and he joined us from Uber. Moved back from San Francisco to Sydney.
Liam reached out to me on LinkedIn. They both seemed really aligned, really confident on what they were doing with Instant. They had investors backing them and some advisors as well with respectable backgrounds. So I think it became evident pretty quickly that they were serious about what they wanted to do with Instant.
And the three of us just started hustling together. And then we got our first customers on board, our first 10 brands, and we knew, all right, we need to raise more capital. One, from the competitive pressure, and two, we just want to be able to grow really, really fast. This is an opportunity. We applied to Startmate, and they do 10-minute interviews is basically how it works. And we needed to, pitch the product 10 times to 10 different investors in 10 minutes. We had our initial product, we had our initial customers, and we got rejected because people that we pitched the idea to thought that our competitors were going to win.
We referred Liam to Startmate when
Instant didn't get in, we were like, oh my God, like this is a huge mistake.
We got to the very last interview. I thought we pitched quite well, and we pitched quite well. And the last person to interview me was Michael Tolo from Blackbird. And I remember him asking me, why are you different to Fast? And I said, we're not Fast, we're Instant. And, it was just a bit of there was nowhere to go with that. And then he reached out to me on LinkedIn, a couple of weeks later, with his Calendly link, and I booked in some time on his calendar. As
those conversations unfolded, he began to sort of make progress amongst the Blackbird investment team. There was no way that money wasn't going into the accounts of Instant after we met Liam and Will.
And then I think 3 weeks after that, Blackbird, we'd closed the round. Then I needed to wait, and that was about $2.5 million in pre-seed.
For our audience listening, Blackbird's probably the most well-known venture fund in Australia. They're an investor in Canva really early. And for them to back you at 17, they must have seen something really special. If you went inside their minds and kind of tried to think about what they saw in you, what do you think they'd say?
What Blackbird saw in me when I was 17, but also Will and everyone else across the team very early days was, our ability to execute. We raised our first round with nobody helping us. Neither of our parents are people in business at all. We figured it all out along the way. Then we built our first product. Then we got, our first 10 customers, hired our first 10 employees. The most common question an investor always asks is, what do you want from an investor? What are you looking for in an investor? Why would you take our money versus another fund's money? And I always say it's not about the money. It's not about the brand of the fund. I just want someone who trusts our ability to execute. The product will change, the company will change, and it has so many times in our case. The people on the team will change, the markets will change, everything changes. But the one thing that should stay consistent in my mind is the founders.
The number of years isn't the relevant fact. It's always the founder in the beginning. We love to invest before product and before revenue at Blackbird. So if you don't have revenue and you don't have a product, you have a group of founders with a view of the world. We always pay very close attention to that rate of learning, and Liam and Will had that in spades. That's the combination of founders that we love to invest in, because it's not evident on LinkedIn resumes at the time of someone being 18 years old that they're going to be a superstar in the future. The company name Instant is such a wonderful one-word embodiment of every single thing about the company and every single thing about Liam and Will. And so at least for Blackbird, it wasn't out of the ordinary.
So we went from being rejected from StartMate, and I've got the letter up there. This is the StartMate rejection letter.
What are some of the best quotes from that?
Fierce competition with deep pockets, not enough insights around the problem. I can't see how they'll win in a crowded field without IP. The solution is clear, however, early concept stage and the technology is still to be developed. Crowded space, Shopify, Fast, Apple Pay, Amazon Pay, yet to demonstrate the improvement in complete, there's just so many.
And you mentioned before, you have these competitors like Fast and Bolt that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars. Did that ever scare you?
Absolutely. Competitors raising hundreds of millions of dollars, that absolutely scared us. I remember Will and I getting on, hours long Zoom calls, just racking our brain of, one, how could we beat them? Two, what was we were always so focused on what are the one or two things we just need to do better than them to win? Or three, what else can we do that just, if we're not going to win in this space, what else can we do that drives the same revenue uplift value for brands?
So the reason why we could actually make this doco for you guys is that Notion is sponsoring doco, the episode. They're actually a big supporter of Australian startups. So keen to hear from you, how do you actually use Notion?
Yeah, we use Notion every day. We actually have done since we first started the company, and there was 3 of us. Now there's so many more than that, and we do our OKRs in Notion, every one-on-one's done in Notion, all of our initiatives, we have a very neat initiative structure.
As you're scaling and adding so many people to the org, do you think it helped you move faster? Because you can just add new team spaces, new functionality into Notion?
Yeah, absolutely. We have so many templates as well in Notion, like a new starter to the team, everything they need to go through. So, there's a lot that helps us to move very, very quickly. Just allows you to You're either going to find something in Slack or you're going to find it in Notion. And it's just super smooth.
Thanks for tuning in so far. We make these documentaries to uplift and celebrate startup culture in Australia. But apart from the documentaries, we've actually got a special offer for the founders that are tuning in. Up to 6 months free of Notion Business if you follow our link. This is the new Notion dashboard, which is tailored just for startups. It's got pre-built AI agents, OKRs, calendar scheduling, product roadmaps, investor update schedules. This is all situated in the one place just for startups. We run our startup on Notion, like literally almost our whole startup, and it's quite a lot of fun. You should too. So hit the link at ntn.so/Sachin and Adam for up to 6 months free of the Notion business plan. This could save you up to $12K of tool costs. Which startup founder doesn't want that? And now, back to the video. And 6 months into the journey, and Instant were coasting. They had a great product, but they didn't have any revenue. And then came a brutal lunch with Nikki Shavak. And after that moment, Liam and Will turned into completely different founders. When I ask everybody either associated with Instant or that knows you, knows that there was a really infamous conversation you had with Nikki Shavak, one of the grandfathers of Australian VC and startups, that you were focusing a lot on product, probably not enough on revenue, and he had a tough conversation with you. What went on in that conversation?
When I caught up with Nikki for lunch, we went to, I think it was Bill's at Bondi. I think it's Nikki's favourite spot. It was probably like the first 6 months after we'd raised our pre-seed of about 2.5 mil. We were hiring people on the team, we thought we were making good progress, we were very product focused and, just building a product that was great. Got to about that 6 months after we'd raised, and we got customers on board, we got customers in the pipeline, we got customers using our product. And we're going into this lunch being like, these are all the cool things we've done, but never talking about the growth, never talking about anything to do with like business fundamentals. We were on the horizon of failing as a company as a whole. We didn't have revenue. We had customers that weren't paying us, and we just didn't have a clear plan on how to get $1 million in revenue. I very specifically remember Nikki being, all right, we great job on the product front, but one piece of advice, you should really get some revenue.
In venture capital, you get 18 months to show that you've on the path to something interesting. First 6 months were perhaps more of a meandering, it's okay, it's complicated, but it's like, hey, you've got 12 months of runway. In 6 months, you're going to need to raise another round. As a 18-year-old CEO, and you're hiring, I used to do this and that at famous company, and I'm an expert, and here's an advisor, and it must have been so intimidating to say, okay, I'm getting all of this advice and all the reasons why, mediocrity is okay, but I'm not going to accept that. There's no, hire another salesperson. There's no take advice, run a playbook or copy and paste other experiences. It was, I will take responsibility. I will set the tone. I will pioneer the function.
We need to do more than just build a cool product. To win, we need to, one, drive revenue uplift for our brands, but two, we need to make money from the value that we're creating.
The powerful message was powerful because it ignited that inner voice. There was probably already that voice inside of Liam's head or in Will's head of, actually, this isn't how business works, and unless we do it, no one's going to do it. I have to do it. I'm going to build it through first principles. I'm going to be responsible. I'm going to do the pioneering. I think that was awoken in him thereafter.
After that lunch, I went away to Bali actually the next day. It was a family holiday, and I never read books. And Adam was surprised when I said this the other day. I've never read a book. All those books on my bookshelf, never read it. But I've read one book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. I really like the storyline in it of, you need to build a great culture, but it needs to be a culture of performance, excellence. In startups, there's this whole thing around it's okay to fail, and it absolutely is. But in my opinion, it's okay to fail on certain projects or initiatives or ideas in the business, but you should do everything you can to not fail as a company as a whole. I think that whenever I speak to founders today that are just getting started, that they always ask me how we started to get growing quickly. You need A players on the team, you need a culture of excellence, you need to move quickly, you need to get rid of the dead weight, and you just need to focus. And for us, that focus was getting to $1 million in 6 months so that we could raise our next round of venture capital and not die as a company. Then I came back, then grew the product to $1 million of revenue in 6 months after that launch. And so that was a real turning point for us as a business. And I think it really inflicted our revenue obsession as a business as we have it today.
Their first product, Instant Checkout, was a real breakthrough. It showed that they could build real revenue and real product and execute at the highest standard.
But what if checkout was just the beginning of a much bigger vision? What if they could build tools that every head of marketing would need to grow, convert, and retain, all in the one platform? When was that moment that you realized that this wasn't just one-click checkout, but there's a much bigger sort of expansive products here?
We had a moment in December, the year before. What would that be? That's 2023, which was a real turning point for us as a company. We'd got checkout to $1 million of revenue in 6 months. We needed to figure out velocity as a business. It wasn't okay to be signing, 2, 3, or 4 deals a month. We need to figure out a way to sign 50, 100. We thought, well, the best budget in an e-commerce business is getting into the marketing budget. The marketing budget is sometimes like the never-ending pool. We want to be a marketing manager's best friend and allow a marketing manager to bring their lost shoppers back to convert entirely. Why don't we use that same technology to remember a shopper every time they come back to your website and allow a brand to trigger a marketing email that brings them back to shop? And so we built audiences in, I think it was like 6 weeks. We launched with the Udi, which was our first customer, and they're doing, hundreds of millions of dollars online. We then grew the product to 500 brands in a year. I think it landed last year at like 8 million in revenue after 11 months in market. And so that was a crazy time.
How fast is Instant growing today?
We continue to grow incredibly fast. We target around 20-25% month-on-month growth. Because of our growth last year, we experienced like almost 3 years worth of growth in 10 months. Had to triple our product and engineering team at the start of this year. We then had to build, we built 2 new products, which diversifies our product suite and makes us more sticky. Because once you start to, get successful, drive so many brands using the platform, drive incredible results, competitors start trying to copy paste. So you've got to try and keep ahead through product. And so that's something we've been really focused on this year that is now propelling us forward even further.
So for someone that has no idea about Instant, how would you summarize the product suite that you have?
Everything that we build is all about how you increase an online retailer's revenue, whether that's through identifying more shoppers so that you can retarget a larger base of shoppers and recover lost revenue, whether that's hyper-personalization of email using AI to maximize conversion rates through your retention marketing. Instant AI, for example, our new product that we've just released, really aims to automate huge amounts of retention marketing, make it more effective and easier for online retailers to do retention marketing. The future of e-commerce is AI powered, it's exceptionally hyper-personalized, and it is that at scale.
We see incredible growth even just in upsell now. This month, for example, we'll probably upsell 100 brands from our audiences product to our AI product alone.
An online retailer can get started with any one of our products, Instant Audiences, for example, in basically less than 5 minutes. Some of them experience upwards of 10, 15, 20% uplifts in revenue within the first 30 days.
We're very focused, particularly Will and myself, on ensuring the velocity doesn't just continue but accelerates as we grow.
So these guys built a team, they fired people twice their age and had to make $1 million decisions all before the age of 21.
And what's crazy is that Liam, as a 21-year-old founder, had to earn the respect of all his employees, which I have no idea how we would have done.
Yeah, God knows what we were doing at 21.
And in this point in the story, you're in your teens still, you've got millions of dollars in funding, and you're starting to have to do these really hard things, including hiring people much older than you, firing people for the first time. What were the hardest parts about being a very, very young CEO?
I think the hardest part about being a young CEO, or even just a founder at that point, you're probably not even a CEO, until recently, really, is you still haven't proven, just haven't proven yourself. Getting people to, customers to believe in you, but also talent that you need to bring onto the team to propel you forward to believe in you is a really hard challenge.
It's actually a really tough question. I think definitely a couple of years ago, I did have a lot of that, what people call imposter syndrome. It is real. The reality is, it doesn't matter what your age is. You are founding a company, you are building a product, you are serving customers, you're selling a product. You just got to learn very, very, very quickly, and essentially make that age conversation go away as quickly as possible.
We never really got caught up in, all the bullshit of startups. We just revenue on the board, customers in the door, hire great people, get rid of the shit ones, and just keep moving.
Making sure that you command the respect of whoever you're selling to, whoever you're hiring, whoever's on your team, investors that talk to you. At the end of the day, I believe that it doesn't matter what your age is. It really just matters how you perform and how your company performs.
What do you think people underestimate about young founders?
How absolutely relentless they can be. A lot of the ways that I react to things is, why can't we just do this? Just get it done. There's absolutely no reason why we can't build this new feature, build this new product, improve this experience for all our customers. Most things are not rocket science. Let's do this thing. Let's make things happen. Let's execute quicker. Let's execute at a high level of quality.
And I think that over time, people just started to see that externally as well. And I think even today, people in startups in Australia specifically, see Instant for the momentum at which we move at, for the energy that we have across the team.
How have you changed as a leader from 17 when you started Instant to 21 now?
When we first started the company, when I was 17 and now 21, I would say I'm probably far less patient now. The team has grown. We've got so much more going on that it's just so hard to consistently be patient. I think the one thing that has remained consistent, if I look back, is that we've always maintained a very positive culture.
The culture here is created for everyone to work fast, obviously, but everyone kind of learns off each other.
One thing that's remained constant is we just have this culture of working collaboratively to get shit done.
I think in a startup, kind of there's two chapters. Can you build a product that people want? And then can you build a company as a second chapter? And not many people go from chapter 1 to chapter 2. One of the joys of the last year, perhaps, is seeing that chapter 2 Liam awaken, and what an incredible leader he already is.
He loves to work hard, constantly on the go, but then he also loves celebrating and having fun, and getting involved in everything.
Things have been shit. We've lost a customer, or whatever's gone wrong. So many other companies, they're always talking about what they could do better, and we do too. And we have a very transparent culture. But I think we spend a hell of a lot of time, particularly on my front, making sure people are across the things that we're doing well at. And I think that gets people truly excited to wake up and do what they do best every day.
You mentioned before that so much about building a great startup is getting the best people through the door. What have you learned about how to hire well, but also to fire when it's not working out?
We always try and poach great talent. We found, a lot of people actually have worked here together before. Harrison on our team, for example, or Rag as a product manager, Gloria, they all work together at Honey Insurance. They've come on the team now together, and so they just refer people that they've loved working with in the past.
I'd love to hear from your words how you've built Instant's engineering team and culture.
The most important thing is that you have people that thrive on autonomy, that are able to take new features, new products, new ideas, take that on board, and essentially be able to build without needing hand-holding, without needing tons of coaching or whatnot. You just need building. A lot of our engineers, especially when building out new products, jump on calls every day with customers, with the product managers that we're serving, and you get just frontline experience into what customers are actually experiencing with the product that you've built.
By this point, Instant were on fire. The revenue was compounding, the products were multiplying, and investors were circling. At this time for the fundraise, Liam didn't actually have to wait. The Series A just got done really, really quickly.
But honestly, this isn't just about raising capital, it was also about momentum. Their US sales team started outperforming the Australian team, their AI products started to take off, and this $100 million valuation that they got now just feels like the floor of where they'll probably go.
Pretty recently, you raised a bumper Series A, $18 million raised at a $100 million valuation. Huge testament to how far you've come and your growth. How did that round get away?
So we raised the $18 million in 10 days. I was in New York at the time, and I always like to raise in November because it puts pressure on investors to get the deal done quick. Again, I think it was a reflection of everything, in my opinion, comes down to velocity. We were just moving so quickly. We were onboarding so many customers, therefore revenue customers. And, VCs, they even today that we're not raising, they're always reaching out to our customers to ask them, is Instant actually driving this revenue for a brand?
And so you're worth $100 million now, but I know you want to quickly get to becoming a unicorn. What do you have to execute on to go from 100 to $1 billion in valuation?
To get to a $1 billion, status as a company, it's every founder's dream, right? New region expansion, product expansion, team expansion, and I guess continuing our consistent mindset of being very capital efficient along the way. We'll get there. And today we onboard over $1 million of revenue every month, every 30 days. And now we're starting to onboard sign $1 million of revenue in Australia alone and the US. And so, the momentum is so real. The US is now our fastest growing market outside of Australia. One AE in the US last month closed more than the entire Australian sales team combined. We're not only continuing to grow, the velocity is fucking improving as well.
So much momentum, and it just feels like you don't stop. It feels like you're always hustling, getting to that next milestone. Throughout all of this, what is the thing that keeps on driving you? Why do you want to get to that $100 million milestone, the $1 billion? Where does that fire from you come from?
We have an opportunity to completely change the way retention marketing is built for e-commerce brands. Brands audiences, when we launched that product, brands had such a wow factor moment. We launched Instant AI recently, which basically takes over all of your emails and does it completely automated. Brands, again, get a wow factor moment. Second to that, Will and myself started the company very young, and a lot of people doubted us in the early days, and proving them wrong, I think, is pretty exciting.
What gives you conviction that he'll build a multi-billion dollar or $100 billion company?
What drives Liam is the quest for greatness. The best want to be like that global best in the world, high performance. And I think the Australian startup ecosystem is so wonderful because of, again, the next startup is trying to be more ambitious than Canva, which is trying to be more ambitious than Atlassian. And so I think everyone is trying to set new world records. In Liam, there's 100% embodiment of that quest for greatness and that quest to create the best company, create the best set of products, create the best outcomes for customers.
You've come so far and had to grow in so many different ways with all these different business challenges. But if you pinpointed one thing, what's something you're really proud of along the way in this journey?
I think, really building an incredible team. And it's such a wishy-washy thing to say. A lot of people say the team, if you talk to founders, but it truly is, in our case, the team at which we've built. And I think the second thing that I'm most proud of is building a product that genuinely matters to brands. We increase some of these brands' revenue significantly, day on day, week on week, month on month. Revenue that they just wouldn't have captured without Instant. And we work with so many brands that are, small mum and dad businesses, and we've added thousands of revenue to their business, and that's really exciting as well.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of our Australian Startup Original Series. We love making these, and we hope you love watching them, and there's honestly going to be a lot more coming.
We're on a journey to get to 15,000 subs by the end of the year, and we're going to fly one lucky subscriber out to our Australian Startup Summit towards the end of the year. And as always, we really appreciate you guys watching.
Do you hang out with a lot of tech people as friends, or?
Not really. No.
Okay. It's probably good. Keeps you down, grounded.
Yes. In some ways it does, yeah.
I'll repeat that in collaborating.
One of the grandfathers of Australian BC.
I've never read all those books on my bookshelf, never read them.
He's just forever on the go. We've had a lot of things. Oh God, I need to do that again.
I have to do it.
There's so many.
There's just this. 3, 2, 1. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Australian Startup Original Series. We love making these, and we hope that you loved watching it. And honestly, there's going to be a lot more coming.